Hello, welcome back.
Welcome back to this session of Park Like It's Friday, even though it's Sunday. Um, and we're doing this again.
Yes, I was not planning to be productive this weekend, but then my partner decided to be productive, and I was like, well, might as well.
What kind of productive? Like, what do you rate? What level of work do you rate as productive when you see like your partner being productive? You're like, oh, that's productive enough. Because I'm sure there's a threshold.
Like committing to a certain block of time to complete something.
But like, okay, but is there a value assigned to what that thing is?
Do we need to assign value?
Maybe in your heart you have a value. Not that you need to, but
I think,
perhaps.
I mean, anything that takes focus, I think.
Mhm.
Like if you're just wandering around the house and doing things, it's
Okay.
productive, but it's not like planned productive, I
Right.
guess.
Okay.
Cool. So my goal today is to quote unquote finalize some of the UI design. I don't think there is a lot left. Um, and then I'll probably just hand it off to Adnan and do some research in the background while he continues to code. Does that sound?
Sounds good to me. Do you know what you're going to research?
I'm between like the latex stuff and
Mm-hmm.
synthesizing that conversation with the teacher.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I will probably do the synthesizing
Yep.
first because I don't know. It's going to leave my brain soon if I don't do it.
Yep. Yeah. Sounds good.
Right. So I'm going to share my screen and way in the corner. Great. Just make this a little bit wider. All right. So I'm going to try to zoom in a bit. So I, in the background, did a tiny bit of changes, which is just fleshing out that player list into its own page. I did move the buttons from, so I think last time it was within the main body. I'm like gesturing with my hand within the main body rather than the footer. And I was like, okay, there's nothing going on down here, so let's just move it into the footer so that the footer act as this is where to go for any call to actions, any like button pressing business. And same thing over here. I did keep the edit player up here because I think it's fairly important, or maybe it should even be just like a back button. So I wonder if like what it it looks kind of bad, but let's see. Would that be weird? A lot of times it's just like, would that be weird? Is the thinking process. It looks weird. I think it's weird. Okay, you're going back. And then the randomized order, which I believe has not been built. Or, yeah. Ooh. In fact, I might name this shuffle because language. I like this icon. Is there a shuffle appropriate icon? Literally just searching shuffle. Oh,
It's like a deck of cards.
nice. Like, should it be shuffle order just so it's not unclear? Would it? Okay, yeah, I'm happy with this. And then once the game is created, yes, I left comments for myself. This is just me going like, there's two places that has headings. What do? I think in this case, we'll just get rid of the header because we don't need it. And then start around. Same thing here. Just resolving my own comments as I go. And then from round 2 onward, the facilitator should be able to end the game. What was I trying to get at here? Okay. I'm not going to do this now, but this is more just me making a comment on the order of the players are not going to be changed every round. But that's like, I don't know, busy work that I don't need to be doing right now. And then the question screens, we're not doing the comment for now. Oh, yeah, I think this is the version without the comment and with the number on the right hand side.
Question here: should we have done the gradient? Because I'll like it, we kind of played around with the idea of changing the colors as time is running down, but we never tried the gradient.
Yeah, that's a good like tangent, I would say. Like, I don't think it's super important right now. Maybe I'll spend some time on playing around with that, and just seeing like, because I would want the gradient to change as the time goes down. Like perhaps starting with more like greenish, bluish, and then as time goes down, there's more urgency and like moving towards the warmer spectrum.
Right. I have another thought here.
Yes.
And this is for me kind of thinking about, when we were picking which side the icon goes on and which side the number goes on, the countdown number
Yes.
goes on, and we had different views. And I think I do genuinely think it's one of those things where, half or half-ish of the people feel one way. And because there's in what's the book name? The Design of Everyday Things, or The Psychology of Everyday Things. There was this example by the author. I'm not sure if it was in the book or whether I saw some clip online where, let's say you're doing a presentation and you have a clicker to move the slides next or forward, right? And there's a button that points up and there's a button that points down. So you have a clicker, it has an up button and a down button. Okay. Which button would you naturally click to move forward in the presentation?
I mean, ideally, it's a button that points to the right, but
in this case, it's up and down.
If it has to be up and down, I think my logic part of the brain wants to say down, but the intuitive part is saying like up.
Interesting. Okay.
Because like I think pressing up feels like moving forward, like
forward. Yeah. So they were asking people for intuition, I believe, in this study that they were doing. And I'm not sure. I read this or I saw this years ago, like over a decade ago, I think. And it turned out from their research that they did on this particular thing, half the people select up and half the people select down. So sometimes what we think is our intuitive mode isn't, we naturally ascribe it to everyone. Or because I find this intuitive, others might also find this or must also find this intuitive. Especially, I guess, when people have some Steve Jobs syndrome, right? This just feels natural to me, therefore we must do it this way situation. But I spent a little bit of time thinking, I think why, because my initial instincts are just purely instinctual. It's it feels this way.
Yeah.
And maybe that rationalization coming next is not real, or maybe it is, I don't know. But I'm like, why did I feel this way? And it felt to me because the visual timer is moving in one direction, and I feel should the number be in the direction that the timer is moving? Again, it's just a small thing. It's honestly, it's not even worth spending this much time on, but I find the psychology of even my thinking on it interesting enough to be or comparing thinking on it, which is, from your eye movements as you're looking at it, what are you even looking at in this case? Are you looking at the number? You're looking at the timer, and different people will find different things to look at. But it seemed more quote unquote natural to me that the number is in the place where the timer is moving, where the visual timer is moving towards. So if the visual timer is moving this way, my eye can naturally kind of follow it to look at the timer, versus at the end or whatever, the visual timer is moving this way and the number is all the way here.
Yeah.
And the visual timer is guiding the eye, let's just say. Which made me think, instead of the number and icon being switched, should the timer go the other way? And that almost doesn't make sense either. Or maybe like like those, that's just the rhythm of thoughts. Like I did not spend this much, like I'm spending more time explaining it than I spent thinking about it, for sure.
I mean, now you're thinking aloud.
Yeah, because the thinking about it was really quick. Oh, what if this? What if this? Okay, cool, whatever. But because it's a running out timer, so if I feel like it should shrink and not expand, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm not trying to negotiate or anything. I just thought that the
I'm starting to forget which version it is that I liked and which version it is you liked, because I feel like I don't remember my own preference.
Right. I think your natural preference was the numbers at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. So the one that we end up developing, because I was like, it doesn't matter that much to me, but it was honestly, it's a thought process that was interesting to me.
Yeah, I think ideally I want both components to be on one side, and it's probably the left, because I think the number on the left, like it moving towards the number, does make sense.
Yeah.
And if I can't make this work, I think this, from a functional perspective, makes more sense than my original leaning, which is more based on like visual.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think visual perspective, like because the icons kind of, if your eyeballs are moving this way, just in terms of reading it in a static sense, then the icon kind of represents what you're going to see.
Yeah.
Right? Like the icon's sort of the quick visual indicator of what's coming. So yeah. I mean, I'm happy to try the up and down timer version, or the one where they're on the same side at some point. But yeah, I might not even touch it after all of this. Like there's other bugs to be resolved.
I mean, I guess a question for you: if I am like, oh, I want to play with like the timer, like whether it's the gradient or the countdown piece, how like how do I go about that if I want to see how it could actually be implemented, not just mock-up?
Maybe I don't understand the question when you say how it could be implemented.
Yeah, because I think there's limitation to what I can visualize with just design tools. So whether that's me just thinking, oh, like that gradient idea of like, okay, like maybe it starts with a certain gradient and it shifts to warmer. I can probably just create like a code pen type situation to experiment with, but are there better alternatives?
I don't know, because I don't generally use them. You know what I mean? Like I would just kind of start up the ID and just code something. So, but does CodePen now have like an AI thing? Because everyone has it now, right? So
I mean, I can use like other tools, I guess, like Replit or something like that as well.
Yeah, Replit might be an interesting one. Is that your preferred kind of go-to AI environment now?
I don't think I have a preferred one just yet. I'm still like playing with different tools. I've definitely used like Lovable and Boat as well. Honestly, to me, and I was telling this to somebody else last week, to me, all of them does like 80-90% of the same things.
Yeah.
It's like the last 10 to 20% that's like different. So I don't know.
I'm on this CodePen that you sent me, like the super, like the countdown CodePen. And I'm surprised not to see a AI button here. I would have assumed just naturally it kind of because I guess CodePen's used for so many examples. It seems like a natural progression, especially if you're sort of
It
not a
does,
heavy
right?
coder. Yeah, to be like, hey, I want this, but maybe modify it to do that kind of situation.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I've definitely used like CodePen earlier, like not in the last 2 years for sure, but I've definitely used it to like illustrate pieces of an experience that I'm trying to like,
Hmm.
demonstrate to an engineer or something.
Right.
They probably hate it, but
I know, like I know, I'm laughing at it. I'm teasing you about the countdown one, but obviously, I think if there's anything that helps you convey more concretely what you want to see in the app, that's only helpful, right? So yeah, I would almost say play around with certain AI tools if you feel like that's helpful. The other thing you can do is learn how to code. Just learn how to code.
okay, say how okay, how would I contribute to the code base today if I'm like, yes, let's do it.
um, yeah, I mean, it depends on the levels you want to get into, right? So there's the super boring way, which is, oh, look, Adnan did not have the text correct, like whatever, or there's a typo, or like there's no actual like logical programming, but what you are doing is you're getting used to being in the code
Mhm.
by just changing the text. So that's one level. Super, and most people are like, ugh, what are you doing? Why are we doing this? But to me, it's almost like just it's like a warm up in a sense, because you're not going from like very low level or no level coding into just like, I want to do something complex. And the the issue with doing the complex things is that because there's a lack of, like, even I work with a lack of knowledge most of the time. Not most of the time, but a lot of the times. And some of the things I'm doing, like this timer business, we're animating. I'm not familiar with all the nuances of the browser and this and that. And I'm quickly experimenting, 10, 15 different things. I'm Googling and I'm figuring it out. But if you don't have the basis of doing that, then it's so easy to give up. And I think we spoke about this before, where now you've chosen something so difficult. So there's like super boring, but super difficult. So you want to maybe, I think everyone should be like shoveling coal at some level in every project that you're doing. Like, and changing the text is like shoveling coal. Uh, if you're not doing it, I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think any work is kind of too low level, let's just say. But having said that, if you feel like there's something that you want to do that you find interesting, which is helpful because then it helps maintain um, like progression, we need to still find something that can give you a good dopamine hit of success, right? So it's got to be somewhere, like it can't be too complex where we're just trying to debug and now you're in debugging mode and you're not really getting that feedback of like, I tried something and I did it. So low level debugging is fine, but debugging that we're doing 10 different things and it's not working, it's just so discouraging. um, so sorry, long-winded answer to just say there's some sweet spot of things. And so if you have an idea of like, I want to do this, and I'm like, hey, I know how to do it, fairly certain or very close to, then I can guide you to doing it, and
You can
then you
watch
get
me
it done.
struggle.
Yeah, but then at least we get to success,
Mm,
like
okay.
within the 10-15 minutes that you're going to try this thing. And that's where I would probably start for beginners, or kind of new folks, is like, do something that you can get to success fairly quickly.
Okay. Okay. I guess we'll keep an eye out for for that type of thing. One
Hmm.
thought that I had, and it relates to I think the rest of the UI. So this is the answer screen where the student will see the answer. I mean, everyone will see the answer, and then the teacher will mark it as correct or incorrect. But one thought that I did have was something I could explore next. Is I think I spoke about wanting to jazz up both the correct and incorrect screens. Oh, where is
Hmm.
it? So having this one, maybe it's like confetti everywhere or something,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
or with the incorrect screen, thinking very sad raindrop
Yeah.
animation as something that I want to see if I can tackle.
Yeah, and
Um,
off the top of my head, like an example I gave was like, hey, maybe something that I know how to do, but I don't necessarily know how to do it off the top of my head purely. But even we can start even simple, like so the confetti thing. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that it's a very like done thing, so we
yeah.
can easily find out how to do it, implement it, and see it work. So for sure. Another thing that's a little bit simpler, but also I don't know off the top of my head how to do or will it work, is you see the musical notations coming out of that trumpet,
Yes.
just having those kind of just even like, bobble or whatever. Um, because the whole thing is SVG, we should be able to find
Mm,
the SVG objects that um, are drawing that and be able to kind of move or animate those. And we can at least experiment with it, even if we don't get it done. And see how that feels like at the very least. Is like, oh, this is how you could do this kind of a thing fairly quickly.
okay. Yeah, I like that. And like, I guess similarly, we can animate the raindrops.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When you had said animate like on this page, that's actually what I had thought was that we animate those raindrops in one way or another.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there might be some tutorials that we can also follow separately, which is like homework. If you want homework, actually,
Yeah, give
um,
me homework.
definitely animating SVG in certain ways is homework that you can actually practice on other kind of just in your CodePen environment or wherever. And yeah, we could actually try that.
Okay, cool. And then I think lastly, this is the screen that I wanted to design for cases where the game ends early. And believe I believe you already started
Hmm.
building this. Is there a maximum number of winners we would display?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm happy to let it break, but I guess I just coded it so it shows whoever is remaining.
Hmm.
And I kind of copied what you had on the bottom, but if you have other ideas, that's fine as well. And in implementation, I'll do it. So let's say you have 3 in implementation, I'll make it whoever's remaining. And if it breaks the page, it breaks the page. Like I'm actually okay with that. And then, in practice, we can deal with it later.
Okay. I think the only difference I would make is to make it a list, like a vertical list to differentiate from the honorable mentions.
Okay.
But other than that, I should say winners. Winners.
Winner. Okay. Yeah. I guess the issue with that being that if it's too long, then it kind of makes a page long. But what I can do is
Yeah.
what I was trying with the initial user list is just like having kind of multiple columns if that's the case, right? So
Yeah.
we'll hope for like the nicer case scenario happening in practice. If it doesn't, I don't think we should spend too much time accommodating or worrying about kind of what that interface would look like as long as it's just good enough. Yeah, something like that. Exactly.
Okay. Cool. Ooh.
Then center, yes, something like that.
Okay, cool. I think that's it. Like, let me just quickly look at the wireframes and see if there's anything else. Yeah, I think that's it. How are you feeling about the UI? I know that this like timer stuff is still TBD, but
Yeah.
other than that,
I mean, even on the timer stuff, like it's very functional, right?
yeah.
Like it's like, oh, where do we place the icon, or is there some comment coming in? And even if we never did those things, which is why I really love, and sometimes it annoys people, but I really love not completing every function, every feature to the fullest. because when you do that, that extra time you spend on sort of certain nuances, it adds up, and now your project has taken much longer versus if you just go, oh, this looks nice and is functional, even though not every design element matches, or we didn't get to every thought we have thought of in the wireframes or whatever. Like, amazing. Now we can finish the entire thing, use it, make it playable, deploy it even, and then work on enhancing some like kind of non-functional frills, and I think that'd be great.
I agree. Just for housekeeping, I moved these designs under delivery.
Okay, all right.
It's the same stuff, but
does it make you feel good?
It makes me feel good.
Yeah,
it
that's
makes me feel good, and it makes my brain a little less messy, I think.
important to recognize. Yeah.
Cool. I will. Yeah. Anything else before I hand it to you?
No. That sounds good. I have a couple of bugs to look into. If I can't figure them out, I'll move on, and try something else, or maybe that's what the entire hour and a half or whatever I'll play. Just figuring out one tiny bug, and if that's the case, you know what? That's the case. All right, I will share my screen. And of course, like as we're sort of finalizing a series of elements here at the end, like yeah, feel free to go kind of with a kind of a keener eye on like, hey, this font on this header should be like this, or this is the size, and can we try this size and that size? That kind of feedback. We're getting very close to that kind of polish level feedback.
Wait! Before you get into it, do you have a snack today?
I have this premium protein thing that I may or may not drink. I also have a can of pop.
Nice. I like the sound of your last pop.
Just opening. Okay. All right. Although I guess these are not like eating items.
That's true. Yeah.
Technically, I do not have any eating items at my desk at the moment.
Must be the time of day.
Yeah, could be the time of day. All right. So where we left off yesterday, and I did not commit the code, is we have this thing happening when there's too many players. And it is bugging me, and it's not something, the nuances of which I work with on a regular basis on the front end. So it's not something that I know, or the solution is not in my heart, which means we need to figure it out. Admittedly, I spent maybe, like 5 minutes looking on it on the internet, which means that we will do it now together. And so, okay, so yeah, I mean, one of my things is like, do I do Tailwind searches? Because there's a lot of questions that come up on the internet, on Stack Overflow here or there, where people might have had this problem, used Tailwind as a framework, and described it. So I'll do that. And if I don't find anything quickly, I'll just go to the more generic version. Full screen page overflowing. Something like this. Let's see what we get. And I'll just open a few. When I scan this, like, I'm not seeing necessarily, these may or may not be my, okay, 8 screen is, so when I see that 8 screen, that's good, because I was gonna put 8 screen on here as well as a search pattern to see if one of these or some of these relate. Okay, and then we can see if any of these describe. Although some of these are super detailed, so I don't know how much time I want to spend on any one of these given things. Content overflow. And maybe there's a better way of describing it. I just don't know. And typically on especially these kind of pages, what usually would help instead of code almost is examples. Like I wonder why there's not examples. Like this is an HTML page, right? So just put a little box with an example in it. And the moment I come across an example, that's like a super quick indicator to me what I should be doing. That's interesting. Okay. I like this also. Typical ChatGPT answer. So I think this person is accusing this person of using ChatGPT. But it seems like this person replied and said, do this. So like stop using AI. 2024. Okay, cool. I mean, that might be the right answer. I don't even know. But it definitely in something like this is a bit harder for me to. This is something like that. This is a very clear description. Child component goes down too far by header height amount, which is kind of similar to what I want maybe, but I have a footer here and all of that is going over the page. And now I quickly want to see if there's 8 screen here. That's potentially helpful. Layout provider. So this might be using something like a React-ish thing. Okay. Here's height of your child component by the height of the header. So replace this with, so this is saying, hey, do something more precise in, instead of using 8 screen, is do the actual calculations. Now there's also this, which essentially is, I believe, so if I go on height, when we see 100 VH, that's like 100%, I guess, of the viewport height. There's also DVH, which is, I believe, dynamic viewport height. I do not know what LVH is, or what SVH is. I can't just search for these things, you know, like it's, I get high blood pressure type examples. Oh, interesting. Large viewport height. I wonder if there isn't a quick description here. And again, I'm looking for something visual. Like I just, and I think partially because I'm on stream or recording doing this, I'm trying to find something that hits me quicker than having to read through blocks of text. But I think even naturally that would help. "100% of the viewport height, irrespective of size, ensures that the element covers the full height of the viewport, creating a full screen effect, are not being displayed and therefore removes the auto resizing." Yeah, there's probably some level of playing around that I need to do with these things. But again, as I'm kind of clicking through here, I'm not finding anything specific. So maybe I can try a few things. Okay. Let's see. Let me go back to the round start pages or the game start pages where I have this situation and with 20 Alice's or Alici, it's fine. But I think maybe with even just an extra 3, it might not be. I probably also should have restarted my computer because I feel like this, maybe I should just restart the server. That hasn't been done in a while. Because some things are taking a long time to rebuild and really shouldn't be that way. Okay, yeah. So with the 23, and I mean, not that it matters, but I think I can just play around with exactly how many. So with 21, it works. 22, it begins to break, right? Because at this stage, I wanted to bleed over, and then let me just add a bunch more. And here, even though it goes over, this still exceeds the page limit. Okay, so now I think I'm just going to play a little bit with some assumptions that I'm making and see where we net out. And then I will go back to kind of learning and determining what's happening. Okay, so even base level, let's just start with what elements I have on the page in general. So we have the HTML. It does not, I don't see anything indicating a height definition here, for example. Body doesn't have that either. This div does not have that either. And this is the next main div. And then I guess this is all kind of Nuxt management business. So the rest of our app is in here. And this is where that H screen begins. So one of my instincts is like, we're too many divs in before we define an H screen. And should that be on the body element? And so that's something I want to play with first. So let's see where I have H screen on the page itself. I'm going to go ahead and just remove that. See what, so now we get this natural scroll, right? Okay. And now I'm curious what happens when I place that H screen business on the body. So maybe I could go to main CSS and do that here. Boroi. Body width 100 viewport width and height 100 viewport height. And this is the equivalent of H screen and W screen that we had done. Did that apply? It did apply. And when I do width, there's some slight differences. We can see kind of when this is 100, this sort of edges through. And when this is 100, I don't see any differences. But with height, even with width, is like, maybe we need to go down the chain now. So next, I'm going to see if I can do a height at 100%. And I'm going to try and just, what am I doing here? I'm going to just try and use percentages as we go to see if that makes any difference at any point. Because I got rid of that from here. So now I have some height here, which is the entire body. I still didn't place anything on the HTML, but body seems right. But if I'm spending too much time kind of debugging this, I'll try HTML as well. And then I have my this page, which has the overflow hidden here. And maybe here I can do an H full instead of an H screen. And I wonder what that will do. So unfortunately, that's landed me back to where I was pretty much, which is, so the body is each screen. And then these are all H fulls up until this point. And because this is H full, we have this happening. So another thing I want to see is what happens when I get rid of this. Now this becomes the scroll. Okay. And by this much. All right, let's try a couple of things before I go back to learning about it. I have these two elements here. What happens if I just get rid of the header? That just works, it seems like. So maybe the presence of the header is causing some pain. I need to accommodate for that. And that might be something similar to what we saw in one of these examples, which is, hey, you're going to have to calculate the height of this other element and adjust. I don't love it. I feel like Flex, the combination of Flex and other things should just work. But again, I'm not as well versed in it. So getting rid of the header seems to make it just work. And then what happens when I bring this overflow hidden back and also get rid of the header? Mary, are you okay with the app not having a header? Does that work? Sorry, you don't have to answer that. You don't have to. It's a joke. It's an LOL.
We have a comment that I do not understand.
I don't understand either. Himanshu, if you're still around, is Johar I know it's a name. Is it also a place, perhaps? Are you from a place called Johar? It certainly is a name in India, as is Himanshu. South Asia, India. Did you just Google a place called Johar? Because I heard some typing, and it seemed like a search. Did you find a place called Johar? Because maybe Himanshu is just representing Johar. Though I noticed that. I think at some point we had like 2 people on the stream, and Himanshu might have left given that we did not engage. So we'll never know. Or we can Google and know. Did you find anything? Sorry.
Not definitively.
Not definitively. Okay. So I have a clue in that the header is causing some kind of shift happening. And what I've done flex column, and then I'm saying, hey, this is whatever height this is, and this takes up the rest of the space. But maybe there might be a few things we can do here. What if we fix the height of this? And I'll start with something silly here. 40. Let's just do H40 and just see what that looks like here. Okay, that's interesting because it seems like it wants to be taller than what it is. So this is my overall app thing. I added H40 to this, though it seems like it's like, I'm not really that tall. What are you doing? So I would have expected with an H40, kind of surprised, I would have expected this to have taken up H40 level of space. And it didn't. What happens when I do it? Let's just go H80. What am I doing? Or why is it not? Let me just take away flex to see. So flex is saying, hey, even though you have a fixed height on this element, I won't respect it. This is the inner one, and this is the outer one. You can see there's like, when I hover over it, it bleeds through, and flex is like, no. Is this AI? Honestly, like if I click on that, will experimental AI feature won't always get it right. It's everywhere. You can't. I have to turn it on in settings though, so it's fine. All right. Header being a clue. Maybe I don't know Flex that well to understand what's happening here, because this is 80. And here I fully would have expected, but let's see what happens when I take away H full from here. It still doesn't want to respect the height that I've assigned explicitly here. And I'm genuinely surprised at that. That would not have been my expectation or understanding of how this works. So maybe I can look at a few Flex examples here to get a sense of what might be happening. Okay. I'm not at all familiar with Flex basis. This is the first time I'm coming across that concept. Direction is fine, wrap is fine, and just Flex generally. So let's just take a quick look here. Okay. And this is kind of Flex number, where we say Flex none, or kind of actual Flex set. So to allow a Flex item to grow and shrink as needed, ignoring its initial size, grow and shrink as needed, to allow a Flex item to shrink but not to grow. Just so I understand, what happens when I say Flex none on this fella? Now that takes up all that space. So Flex, I mean, we already realized that Flex was adjusting the height of this given the situation that it was in without, okay. So Flex none will just stick to the actual defined fixed width or height. Shrink not grow auto to allow Flex item to grow and shrink, taking into account its initial size. Are things not Flex auto by default? So let's see what happens when I say Flex auto here and here, let's just say. Oh, okay. So, I mean, same issue here, but it's kind of worse because none of this is bleeding over. One thing I noticed here is that I have overflow hidden here, which is on the entire thing. Maybe it should be here as a more natural thing, and that seems to have fixed it, actually. Although I'm getting some weird bleeding here. So let's go back and remove these. Yeah, what's happening here? What is this? Wait, what? So if I don't do overflow hidden here, it's fine. What? Sorry. Okay, all right. If I do overflow hidden here, so I'm just gonna quickly check my messages. The borders are messed up, but the fit is perfect. If I create game here, look at the fit is just absolutely perfect. But something really weird has happened. I mean, apart from all of this that's happening. But something weird is happening with the shadows. and it's having some difficulties. So first step, it does seem like the overflow business is what's causing the general issue. So I can maybe just take a look at my overflow options. Can't prevent it from being clipped. So this is something along the lines of what's happening. Right, so you have some element and we're saying overflow hidden on it. So wherever it doesn't work. So what if I did say overflow visible? Will it still be fixed and it's visible? No, it's just, it doesn't care. Auto, I don't want auto. I'm gonna try auto just so I figure out how these things work. Auto seems to respect what we want, but it is also still clipping the borders, it seems. This is going to be the rest of this, just me groaning.
Think.
Yeah. I feel like we're so close, and now this, like, we figure one like major element out, and it's like, now this clipping business is happening. Maybe. What if I gave it some padding just to see what that would look like? Ooh, What if I hid in this? What if I'm not against this, to be honest. What if I give it padding 0? So the issue's there. So I will admit I don't fully understand this right now. Like, I'm trying things to figure it out, and because I have some mental model I'm working with, which allows me to experiment and try certain things. But my mental model on this is only half baked and it's not precise. And I'm wondering whether I need to really understand my mental model in order to get what's happening here, or should I just be happy that it's worked and move on? So let me just look. Because the U card is inside this div. Like, this is the U card. And we have W full, H full, and we have an overflow hidden. So the fullness of this and this might be causing that clipping to occur. What if I'm just thinking, what if I applied, you know what, it doesn't matter. I was like, what if I applied either the padding here? Okay, let's quickly try something out. U card, which is the main. What if I have my padding here and not here? I will probably end up placing that padding there and be done with it. So that doesn't seem to work. So where did that padding go? Or did it not get saved? Oh no, this is the U. Not, I have 2 U cards here. So even here it doesn't work, and this just helps me slightly crystallize my mental model. Oh, because it's padding, it's internal. What if I say margin, which is external? Almost, but other issues happen based on the margins because of how it impacts kind of the box layout model. I don't know if this will display it. Yeah. So I don't want to invest any more time here and just live with this kind of hack, because it works. And this does this business. I do wish here that we could limit the height here, but I fear then this would bleed over and it could just cause a bunch of issues. So I'm okay with this for now, where it's this far, although just legibly it seems weird. But I couldn't figure out the grid stuff yesterday, and I don't want to spend too much time on that. Okay, and this looks good. Look at that. Just what you can do with 2 pixels of padding, huh? Okay, one more thing, just on that 2 pixel note. I think there's a PX, which applies just 1 pixel of padding. I'm curious whether that's also enough to adjust things, and that's what it seems like it is. So we'll get away with the minimal that we need to do here without, again, fully understanding. I don't fully understand, but that's fine. Okay. I'm okay with that. Okay. Let me commit what we have. I did, I believe, make, what kind of changes did I make? Okay, so really what we did was we got rid of H screen and W screen here, and we put the overflow hidden here. But what I'm not learning in this model is which change actually fixed it, because I did 3 or 4 things at once, right? So I do want to understand what fixed it, even if I don't understand why it's fixed. So most of the changes that I had made to the page were here. So let me go here and undo some of this and see what kinds of changes or what kind of difference it makes, just so I understand what fixed it, right? So what if I went back here and actually just went back to what we had, which is this with that little bit. So what if all I did was take overflow hidden from here and placed it here, and then added that padding PX? Okay, so at least I understand the boundaries of that fix, right? The other stuff might not have helped at all. Not that it was incorrect, or obviously it worked. So there's different places where applying that kind of stuff still works, but in this case, this is our situation. That's fine too. Okay. I feel like I could probably make this P5, to be honest, and still, or P6, and get a decent portion of the screen invisibility. So, all right, that's good. So here, I at the end of the day, I don't need any changes here. So get rid of all of that. So no changes. In app view, really all we did was bring the overflow hidden from here to here, which was the core of the issue. And that at least makes sense in my mental model, right? Because when I was playing around with different things, I realized that overflow hidden was applied here, and this is the entire thing, and this is where we probably want it hidden. And now that worked. And then these were like the bunch of changes I made. So now we can get rid of our test LSI, LSS. And then the rest of the code, I believe, is just the changes that I was applying yesterday. What is this? Oh, and why is this? Oh, that just seems like a variation of this. Grid. I was trying the grid and I was not having much luck. And so, okay. Oops, no. Styling, games start. View. And maybe I can go back here and make some of the changes Mary had made earlier today. So she said that, hey, these buttons, what are they doing here? Let's plop it down. And then on submission, this became an icon. And then we have a randomize here. That should not be that difficult to do. So I feel like I spent a lot of time just figuring the layout out, which my instincts say, hey, move on and tackle other bigger things and don't mess about too much. But we could also mess about a little bit. I have a few thoughts. We'll see. We'll see. And even if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So, all right. So upload, I'm not implementing just yet either. All of that can happen. I feel like it's fairly easy if you have a CSV to just paste it here. It's not that much work to do, but it's just, I feel like I would rather tackle working on the questions or some animation stuff rather than upload CSV at this stage. Okay, so let's do that. Generate players. Generate players should now go to the bottom with create game. So this entire div no longer belongs here. And then in the footer, we'll have to justify between instead of end, and then get rid of this entire div. And now this text box takes up the entire page, really, or the middle of the page, and generate players lives here. Cool. Submit players. And now let's add that icon on here, which is that pencil icon. Okay. Edit players. Icon. Can I do no pencil? Is it that simple? Whoa. Am I following you? I'm still following you from yesterday. Okay, so I'm here. Let's see if that icon applied. And it did, but I think the icon set that you might be working with is the Lucide one. So that now has that kind of drawn look. I think Nato is more something else, more colorful or what have you. Shuffle order. Let's mess with this. Vector. Okay. And this is with the create game. So in this case, I can probably go back for testing purposes and have player list dot value be set to a random list. And this just becomes sort of my test case for clicking and randomizing. Okay. And what randomize at the end of the day is really doing is just rearranging here. And here's where I think the AI autocomplete can assist. So the bottom I have create game. In here, I'll go in justify between, create another button, and we'll say shuffle order. And then, sorry, just gonna check my messages again. Okay. And then shuffle order. And then this is not trailing icon. This is just icon. And it's, oops, vector. Is that right? Let's try that out. And then I know it's outline. I'm not seeing that icon there. Maybe I misread it. And the color is neutral. Definitely the icon is not. It's shuffle. No, what is it? Yeah, it's shuffle. I was like vector. It said vector, but it's not shuffle. I guess it's just shuffle, which is the icon for shuffling your playlist, for example. Okay, so now when I click, I should not start the game. I didn't, because I copy pasted, I didn't adjust it. So shuffle players, and then we'll go ahead and create a function shuffle players. And what is this doing? Yeah, so this is just randomly adjusting them and placing them in the player list. So I think that visually this is helped by maybe creating a few more random players. Oh, this is a lot more, but okay, fine. Okay, so I have a thought here, Mary, if I may, which is, and I haven't done this in a while. And so this click here, you can see is shuffling the players. Many years ago, I was playing around with Ember.js, which is another framework in Vue.js, and trying to recreate this, like when you shuffle. I was just following a tutorial that was out there, right? So I wasn't necessarily like creating this myself. Is you can visually see these move like a deck, like just. And so let me see if I can't find that tutorial. View shuffle animation. And probably there's better ways of doing that now than they were back then, 6 years ago. This is probably the actual tutorial that I was looking at. And it has a code pen. So let's see what that looks like. I mean, it's not going to do this necessarily, but okay. It's like that, where you can actually see the individual things move. And I was like, should we play or should we do functionality? But this might be, it might be as simple as sort of seeing what elements are suggested here and kind of copy pasting them without too much work. And so I'm mildly curious if we can't try that.
Curious, when the teacher, I guess, enter a list, is it shuffled by default when they preview, or?
No, it's just as is.
I see.
Assuming that they had cared about the order and done it. But if they just exported that from like their class list file, it's probably not intentfully ordered. And so I'm just trying to see what this shuffle. Yeah, so it just seems like they are legitimately shuffling and changing. And then I wonder what the animation is or how that animation is functioning. They're using transition group. So each card, so all the cards are a child of the transition group. I also opened this and I wonder, because I searched for shuffle And I wonder if they have a shuffle style transition as well here. Yeah, like this is what, something along the lines of what I'm thinking. So this might be straightforward enough to do in Vue, where we have a transition group. And the name of that transition group, I'm trying to see if is list complete. And there's a list complete. The styles are named after that, right? So, oh wow. And this is a very simple, a similar example to the one we had in that tutorial there. So let me see. Flip list. Is that all? Is that all it is? It's like transition, transform 1 second. Okay, I mean, let's try it out. Why not? Why not? Okay, so there's a v4 somewhere here for the player list, and it turns out that it is a an actual list, and that happens to be what's. No, this is not even being used. This code never runs, so I just never deleted it, I guess. And then this VIF, this is what I should have caught. That bit of code never gets executed because that if statement was being doubled and there was an else, that would never have happened. And my actual code is here, this v4, which is just a div. It's not a list, and that's what clued me in to be like, huh, I thought I removed that. And here, I believe I can just copy this transition group. Transition group name equals list flip, let's just say, and tag is div. And I mean, that's all I'll do for now. And let's just see what this looks like. And maybe I could have done that flex business as well here. That was suggested by AI. Let's see if that's just adjust the spacing, which is fine, which was coming from here before, but now we've added an extra div here. And now on that click, where's my example? On that click, I do need this move transition to be applied. And I feel like I could just place that in my main.css, and we should see something like this. It should be this simple, but let's see. I feel like I hyper emphasize that should, which means in my heart, I think that it won't be this simple, but it should be. Well, that does absolutely nothing. Certainly no animations are happening here. I probably missed a step, or this is not being applied, or I did not name my thing properly. List flip and not flip list. That was it. Flip list. And now, no, let's just refresh. No, I'll just give this a few more minutes because I don't want to spend too much time here either. I thought this would be a potentially quick, fun thing. Continue to this feature the vmove class, which is added when the elements are changing positions. It will prefix the value, and you can also manually specify a class with the move class attribute. And then what I guess the other thing to think about is, so we're doing a full resort in applying the player list. So I feel like that is the equivalent of doing this. Though it might not be, but I feel like it is. So I've done flip list here. Flip list here. I've named my transition group. Name equals flip list. Name equals flip list. I'm using different tags, although I don't think that ought to matter, because there are other examples of this kind of a thing that don't use these lists. So, okay, come on. Let's see if there aren't any CSS classes being applied here, although this will be hard to see. So I don't see any classes being applied, which makes sense. That would cause no animations to happen. This seems like that transition group is not being honored. So let me see whether transition group list v4 items class list item. There's just no transitions being applied, or there's no classes being applied or not applied, and that my assumption would be that this transition group should do that. So let's just quickly check next transition group. Maybe there's some changes, maybe there's some variations. Maybe also, I realized I was looking at view 2. I don't think that there should be any changes from view 2 to view 3, which is the version that we're using. So, but just worth checking. Right, this is the kind of thing I'm looking for. Add, remove, shuffle. And here's that full example, and I wonder what that will open in. So see, shuffle works here. And then just for our purposes, and maybe I should be using a list. Maybe that will change. When I click shuffle here, we can see those styles, those classes being applied. Fade, move is applied, but is not applied in our app. Okay, so this is it. One last ditch effort in trying to make this work. What is item? Item is just numbers, so that's why they keyed off of them, so that's fine. And then for us, we're just keying off of the index. And maybe that's a problem. What if I keyed off of player.name? Just knowing that, okay, fine. Some of them might have similar names. I'm curious whether keying off the key is the problem. And the key was the problem. Look at that. Okay, so all that means is I need to give a unique ID to this. And the way, I don't even know how I figured that out. I was like, I know that it needs to use the key in order to determine an element and track it all the way through. And if I was using the index as the key. The index is like it's being associated with the new generated list and not the existing one. So it has to remain consistent. That works. And all that means is when I am creating a player list here, I need to try and give it some kind of unique ID. I don't think I need this. And then this will be a string. I don't want to give it an... it could actually just be a number as well, because ultimately the only reason why we're using this number or this ID is to just have a unique value. It has no real meaning. So I can do something like index +1, not +1, doesn't matter, because it's not the number, it's just an ID. And now I can go back to the key thing and say ID. I can't use name because I'll run into a similar issue if two people have the same name. And now when, oh, come on. I just, it's just my luck. Name. And it works. And with ID it doesn't, although I feel like it should. Somehow I believe like clicking extra times will just make it work. Player ID. Player ID is... Okay, so what if I went back to my initial instinct of generating a string, unique string. Can I do that? It does not work. Oh, of course. It's because I hard-coded this list of players. So this is where the fix would happen. So let me actually go back and make this simpler again. And I'm doing this, I mean, I could have just stayed with the crypto stuff. The reason why it wasn't working is because this fake list I have here does not have an ID. But the real list will, once I get rid of all of this and generate my players through here. Now this list should have an ID. And when I click shuffle, it should work. All this just for that. Are you seeing this now, Mary? Are you? Okay, great. I mean,
it looks great.
Yeah, but it's like you run into all these like nuances and issues otherwise, and it ends up taking a little bit more time than you would have wanted. But yeah, I thought this would be like a fun little thing to do. And even like when I see this, I just want to keep clicking because it actually is legit. Like, and what's cool about the way Vue is applying those classes and the way CSS works is if I keep clicking in the middle of it reassigning, they will move from where they were. So it doesn't always go here.
This thing itself looks like a game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's very useless. But it's so much fun. My brother, back in the day when Flash was a thing, had made this like, I don't know if you call it a game, but just this interactive animation where there were 3D boxes, and if your mouse hovered over it, the box would expand and then kind of contract again. And yeah, it was just so much fun to just have your mouse move through the boxes and have them, the 3D boxes, just like get bigger and small. And it was just nothing. There was no function, form, or reason. But it was fun.
The function is fun.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No other function, form, or reason. So here we go. We've added some animation to the shuffling. And also added the shuffling, got rid of some duplicated code, adding shuffling with animations. Okay, what's next? Let's see. I want to see if, okay, hold on. I think, Mary, you said you wanted to play around with, okay, so this stuff was changed. Okay, yeah. Just animations here. So, I mean, we might, I think, so takeaway for me is to give you some homework so you can practice SVG animations. And then later on, we might do a together session, or maybe you can even do an alone session where you try and apply them to the app. I'm trying to see whether there's any other major elements that I want to focus on before I move on to the questions aspect. We have more comments. POV Decoded says, you guys are doing great. Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for joining the stream. And Hinoji is back. Welcome back to the stream. Yes, the alignment is off. You are correct. So Hinoji says the alignment is off. I noticed it. I didn't even say anything about it because it's just like, it's just, you know, that you know, why not? Why just, this is, I wouldn't do this. Typically I'd just be like, no. But I feel like if folks are taking the time to join the stream and make some suggestions, I'm going to ignore 99.99% of those suggestions, I feel like. But some of the time, why not? I feel like the simplest thing to do is maybe give this like a fixed width, even though it might not be that great a solution, but at least it's a quick adjustment. And let me just see. I think I need to give all of these their own thing. So probably need to make that a block. Yeah, the refresh is still being a little weird. And then let me just see. Oh yeah, 3 is not nearly enough. So now that the block element is there, this will become clearer. And yeah, that's, I mean, I think that's the W5 is probably good enough. We could use Canvas, Hinoji. However, the things that we want to animate are already in SVG. So things like this. What if this kind of felt like the coffee was hot? If this was animating, and what if the music notation here was musicking, for example, in animation format? What if the window was actually crying? So these kinds of things, and this is already in SVG. So yeah, let's right align also. Why not? Although even the right aligning thing, honestly, is like, I feel both of these things are functioning cool, but let's see what that right align does. It means that I need to, it looks a bit weird. It means I need to give this a little bit more space, first of all. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That looks fine. This does look weird, to be honest. What if I did font mono as well? Because when my eyeballs go from 1 to 2, it looks kind of weird. And now it seems like it now it seems like it doesn't even respect that right align. Oh no, it's just, it actually doesn't in this case because the width is not relevant enough. So now I actually do need to add more width here, but the other thing I can probably do is text SM, just make it smaller as well. Yeah, now that transition from 1 to 2 is not weird. With the other font it was, and I'm okay with this. And look at that. Hooey. Oh, for the geometry questions. Yeah, I don't think we would be animating we might be animating the geometry questions. But maybe you know a little bit about this, Hinoji, and I'm gonna maybe after I commit this, just start looking at latex options in JavaScript. Okay, so here, let's just take a look. Yeah, all this is just styling the numbers. So aligning the numbers in players list. Hinoji's request at Hinoji's request. Okay, now you're in our Git commits. Okay. So cool, great game. I'm not going to fix this right now, although I could, but I'm not going to, because I feel like the game will be played on a wider screen, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. Other minor things to fix is having a fixed list of animals so that we don't have blanks. But that can be done later, and the determination of that can also be done off stream. What I wouldn't mind looking into now, let's see. Actually, before we move on to the questions and latex and all that, this I feel like we could get to later because the logic I have there is just like maybe it's a bit excess because I replicate the crowns for everyone, but it is like it's functional. One thing I wouldn't mind trying is just so we get the feel of the app as intended is maybe this background business. Is the image curtain white? Is that the background?
I think that's the pattern.
The curtain white? Yeah.
Yeah. I can send it to you. Or can you export? Is that
I should be able
exportable
to.
thing?
Let me see. Yeah, I believe I have it downloaded. Let me see. And it's called white. Is that the color of the?
That's just the file, like the image file.
Right.
The pattern is curtain.
Got it. Okay.
If it's easier, I can just send it to you.
Sure. I think I have it somewhere here. Let me just take a look. I should be able to pull it in somewhere here.
Is the SVG better?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have both, you can send both to me. How would you be sending them to me? Oh, I see. Through secret means. Okay, let me see how I would do this. So SVG,
So the SVG I sent you is basically like just one grid. So I'm not sure what's the best way to like make it, I guess, a background repeat.
Yeah, let me see. So there's background image, there's background repeat. So I'll be using these for certain. And then I think the background image can accept an SVG. But I'll have to see here. So yeah, I'll have to just Google it. CSS background image SVG. Otherwise, I could just use the actual image itself as well. So I can either say path to SVG or have this kind of converted version. Yeah, I'm not sure how the path to SVG would work, but let me maybe try that out first, and then next add images, or like images directory. So this will go through the build tool. I don't think there's a reason why that should go through the build tool. So I guess I'll go public here. Sure, let's say images in VI. I'll just call it pattern.svg for now, and we'll deal with the rest later. And I don't know. Okay, fine. I mean, we'll just play around with this. And then oh, I would have thought that curtain white image would be available here. Oh no, it got downloaded as 4623. So curtain, whoops, curtain.png. So let me get curtain as well, and now we can try both of those things. And that would be in this. Okay, so I mean, I guess the way I did it is, this is that overflow hidden fella is the div that we want to address, and it turns out that that has a padding of 1, but now the whole thing will have to change bit by bit. So let's do that. In app.view, what we have here is this is the full screen, and then this part is only this, whereas in here, this part is actually divided into 2, and the padding, there should be no padding from the full page. So we should see something like this, and then we'll have to individually pad the header. So I'll say px6, but I might have to change that in a couple seconds. 40, 10, 6 is fine, I think, just because of the scale. And then here, I can do pypx for now. Oh no, I think I will have to do a p of 6 here broadly. And maybe this will begin to look a little bit like what it ought to. And then here, I think I can do, let's do py4 for now, and let's just see what that looks like. There does need to be a little bit more space there. So, because the spacing between this and this So maybe 6, maybe just the P should be 6 here. Now there's too much space here. That's because it goes 6 up, 6 down. So this really should be PT. That should pull some of that up. And then where's the rest of the space coming from? There's a margin, MB8. So maybe I can actually just rely on the padding here to create that space and not deal with the margins. And then well, that depends on, so that's this. And then here I have, so, okay, so this is good. And then maybe here I can do PT and then PB, even 0. Let's see what happens when I do that. No, that's not going to work. Let's say 3. Let's start here. And now I think when I start adding a background here, let's just start with a colored background, something super dark so that it's just visible and we know what we're working with. But this is now kind of the spacing is very similar to what we would want. Maybe something, here or there, a little bit here, a little bit there until it feels right. That feels a little bit better, but maybe should it actually just be 6? That looks better, but then I thought, what if I actually did 4? Yeah, that feels better. And then I think this is enough space here with P6, but if not, we can try different variations depending on how much of that background we want prevalent. Okay, so let's try and get our background here. I suppose I could do something like I can just use plain CSS for this, to be honest. If we kind of name it something super obvious so that I get some assistance here. And then I'll say images / curtain.png. So I'll try with the PNG first, given that we have it, and see if, well, I have to apply it as well, right? Okay, so that takes up the whole thing. Let's see what happens when I do what is background size cover mean? Fills the background area, cropping the images if needed. So let's just do repeat first. To see what the adjustments are here and whether it even cares about the size. Because why does it take the full space? I guess, okay, that's interesting. This is how you do the SVG. What happens if I try the SVG? That's more like what we want by default. So I'm happy with that without having to figure out the rest. And then let's see what we can do with this gradient. Hmm. Where does it even, where or how does that even, the gradient even live exactly? There we go. So let me just copy the CSS and see if I can't paste it here. And it seems like, okay, so a gradient uses a rotation that is not supported by CSS. So let's just see what happens here. So it's not quite, I mean, it's very close, but it's not as apparent. And that's because I think this background is overriding the image. So there's no image here, actually. There's just, it's not bad. So let's see what I need to do to bring that image into the fold. Because this is just gradient. I'm trying to see if there's any examples of sort of gradient backgrounds here. There aren't. CSS background gradient with image. Background this, background image, and then gradient here, comma. Okay, let's see if that does it. So the gradient is being applied to the image, it seems, not with it. What happens if I go to the curtain image? No, it is actually being just applied to the image itself. So that's not what we want. We want the inverse of that, or some other verse of that. Sure, there's probably a way to indicate in CSS. Is it this guy? Background image should blend with this background color. BG blend, multiply, soft white, overlay. Let me actually just try a few of these and see what happens. Let's just start with something like, I don't know what any of these mean or do. And actually, I can change back to my pattern, SVG, straight up. Okay, it's not what we want, I don't think. I mean, something like it. Okay. Let's just go down the list one by one. Normal, multiply, I don't see the background at all now. Like the pattern is gone with the multiply screen.
Can we also like just try making the image like, I don't know, 20% or something?
Sure, I'm not entirely sure what that means at this stage, but let's take a look. But I guess with that though, let's say if there's no blending option, right? This is what we see. And you're saying let's make the image, but then won't that just?
I see.
Because it's the image is taken over the gradient, it seems, gradient. but maybe it's not supposed to be done this way. Maybe there's some other way of getting those two together. And then I'm just going to continue trying this in a second, and then we'll, if none of these work, then we can address maybe some other patterns. Lighten. Were there any particular options as you're creating the gradient? Like, do you have like a multiply and any one of these sort of things that come up in the language?
They are. I did not use. Let me just see.
We don't like this. You don't like this version? No. Okay.
Maybe not for April Fools.
Not a fan. Okay.
I feel like overlay is pretty good.
Maybe ask a designer. It's just the pattern. Okay, I see. Let's see. Clip, attachment, color. Okay, well, I'm just gonna hold on. CSS background image gradient blend. Let's just see what people are saying. Okay. So that's just creating the background with a certain blend mode. And then I want the example with an image. Okay, they've just created entirely. And now they're just using images. They don't have a gradient example. Although maybe that had some answer. Try the image first, they say here. Blend mode overlay. Did we not try overlay? Maybe even as one of our first ones. I mean, that looks way different. Image. Curtain, PNG. I'm curious what that will look like with the PNG. That just looks so different. So let's see it without an image. This is it without the image. This is what we want, but just with an image. Okay. So here there are some examples of, there's multiple things happening here. But these blend modes seem to do something very particular and specific, which is different than how it's showing up in Figma. Because when we do kind of an overlay blend, this area looks yellow instead of this honey color. So I don't know if there is. I mean, okay, let's actually try. Let's go down the list and try all of them until we get It's just an understanding of what each one of these is providing, and one of these might be the answer, and then none of these might be the answer, but then at least we will know. Okay, so luminosity is not it. It might also be in relation to transparency of the image itself, where that gradient is blending into. But again, let's just go through these. Oops. Ooh. I mean, my heart says none of these will do what we desire. And what's nice about this is I'm not even taking a mental note of what each one of these does and how it works. And like, there's no real learning presence here for me, because it's kind of just hit and run. Ooh, this is very close, actually. Not
Nice.
It's not there. It's very different, because all that darkness here is gone, and it's present in the darkness is now present in the pattern itself and not the background. So that's what soft light, maybe hard light, does what we want in our hearts. No, it does not. So soft light is something we can at least understand for now. Let's finish off trying these rests, since maybe they hold the key. Why do some of them get rid of the pattern entirely? And would it help, Mary, in the SVG? Oh, okay. Sorry. Hold on. Why do I keep typing SNG? The fill here is none or white. What if I do black instead? What kind of impact does it have? So, I mean, it does have an impact. And it might be the case where all of these now behave differently because it's black. Which means we get to cycle through these, and maybe there's some color
try screen.
Okay. Hold on, what happened? I thought I did see it there for a second, but then it went away. Let me try multiply. Let's try soft light again. White doesn't work, and black does this. Can you hear the drums, Mary, from my...
I thought I heard something rhythmic.
Yeah, there's drums in my background. Let me try lighten and darken. I mean,
festival?
I don't see anyone, but they're not. So they're not right outside my window, I guess. I feel like we're onto something with the actual color of the background. Like I feel like something, not this, but like this, but what else? Was there another one that kind of fit the bill? I think soft light still fits some bill. Except we don't want it to be that. So what if I tried in our SVG something like gray, just to see what happens. I feel like there's something we can play with here because I see it's super light. Can you give me a color that's kind of, I guess, in between gray and black, please?
Are we looking for like a color or like
a gray, like a gray that's a darker gray?
gray? It's very I just sent you a hex code.
It's getting louder. We're getting closer.
Oh, it must be like I don't know. You live downtown, so it could be anything. But
yeah, I can't read what's on their flags, but they're in uniforms, skirts and pants, and hats, and drums for sure. And I don't see. There's a lot of them actually. Okay, wow. So one thing I'm noticing here is this is light instead of dark, and where you kind of have, they're a marching band. For what, I don't know. There's children. Now there's children. First led by adults.
Maybe it's are they dressed in like now I'm speculating on what you're looking at.
Please. They look kind of like Boy Scoutish dresses.
Okay.
But the earlier group did not seem like that at all. So, kind of like beige things with like badges or things on their sleeves. They have a flag.
I was gonna guess Cinco de Mayo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
Well, it's the 4th today. Cinco de Mayo, I feel like, is the 5th, isn't it?
It is the 5th. Oh, Star Wars Day, maybe.
I feel like we'd have different music on Star Wars Day.
That's true.
They have a flag which has 2 colors, white and red. I don't know what country's flag that is. Is that Poland?
Not me looking this up.
White on top, red on bottom.
Poland.
Is it?
Which color on top?
White.
Poland, yes.
Yeah? Okay, so I guess there's something Polish happening today. I feel like this is so close to what we want.
I like this. Honestly,
you like it?
I might even like it a little bit more.
I'm happy to keep it. I was just trying to get as close to the to this as possible. But if we like it, we like it. Although let me try. No, why should I try any more things? I'm okay. Let's use it. But we know maybe what to play around with, which is the color of the fill, along with the blending options. So adding honey background. Okay, that took a while. but I mostly blame the marching band.
Can I share something with you?
Oh yes, of course.
I'm trying to figure out how to share a CodePen. It's been a while since I used it.
Are you gonna take over the screen?
I could.
Yeah, if that's easy.
Yeah, sure.
I'm happy to. Yeah, go ahead. Do what you need to do.
Screen share. So I was playing with what? Wait, where is it? There we go.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm giving it away. I was playing with a timer.
Mhm.
Nice.
Sorry.
So what this timer does, I think it will wobble and flash at the halfway mark just once. And then for the last 10 seconds, it will do that and annoy you until it ends. I was mostly just playing with the gradient idea. Took me a couple tries for it to work, but
Okay.
yeah.
How did you come about, like, did you do this just from scratch from your heart while I was watching the procession?
Uh,
Or did you copy paste? Did you AI? I'm just curious
I
as to how
AI'd.
you.
I was going to go on Replit or another tool, but I was like, this is like such a small component,
Mhm.
doesn't require like a full CDE, which is why I stuck to CodePen and just used ChatGPT on the side.
Oh, on the side. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Okay. Send me the link. I'm okay to spend
do I just
a
share
few
the
minutes.
link?
Yeah, in this chat area that we have, and I'll drag it over. Should I close in some of these tabs, or should I just just find my tab?
You can close that one where you felt insulted.
The insult tab. I might have already. I think I don't. While scanning, I don't see it, so I feel like the insult tab has been closed. So okay, let's refresh this and let's take a look here. So
I think my just more like learnings from this like vibe CSSing.
yeah,
My struggle with it was like when I first tried to describe what I wanted. There are like vague things that I didn't think to specify.
yeah.
Like for example, I think I started with saying like, oh, I want a gradient that goes from the right to the left, and then it kind of did the opposite for a while. And
For a
then
while.
eventually I had to like basically say, instead of like the gradient moving,
Mhm.
I wish I can see version control. Is there version control here? Eventually what ended up working, that was the turning point, if you will, is I basically said the gradient is static and it's this bar, like the gray bar, that's moving from right to left or stretching from 0%
Oh,
to
I
100%.
see. So it probably does. It probably did the inverse or the kind of the
Yeah.
opposite of what we were doing. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I will stop sharing and let you
Okay. Yeah.
take
Let me.
over the vibes.
Maybe there's some elements I can realign. Note here that it's not seconds anymore; it's minutes and seconds. I'm going to keep ours to seconds so that there's no extra mathematics that needs to be done um, by people. Maybe does that make sense? Like, or do you think it should be minutes and seconds?
I think I think it depends on like what's usually how much time people are given per turn.
Yeah, it wasn't clear to me looking at the Notion page. Oops. Okay. Yeah. Here, like that just seemed like 15 seconds by default because in all of these, like, there's a 15. Oh, but it seems like this could be modified. And there's like a play button here and a pause
Yeah.
button here as well. Count up, count down. But that might just be default with whatever timer element that they were using. I don't want to open up the PDF on screen on stream, Mary, but if
I can take a look.
yeah, take a look at the attachment here to see if there's any documented indication of how much time that they're using. And then it seems visually here that this is an hour, minute, second timer, right? So I think if they did come across the time, it would probably be minutes and seconds. Right?
So in the PDF, it says each student is given 15 seconds for round 1, 20 seconds for round 2, and 25 for round 3. So it actually goes up. My assumption was that the time goes down as as the game progresses. But
it's probably the case where the questions get harder.
The questions get harder.
What I like about what we're doing is that certain questions, even for reading purposes, or so it might be the case where, you know, yeah, like I mean, if somebody gets this,
I cannot answer any of these questions in 15 seconds.
I can't even read it in can I read it and answer it in you know, even 20 seconds, it seems like. But I think, I mean, it's fine. I think we can probably have a minute, seconds thing going.
Yeah, I think we can stick to seconds based on like the example of like everything is within a minute.
Oh, okay, yeah. So let me just over here. Let me just bring the here this below and maybe do some adjustments so that the icon and the numbers are together, and then we can take a look at some other elements. So sorry, I just need to check my messages. Okay, well, that's fine. I can. Okay, maybe this is what we do.
He says you need a panic mode.
Well, what we did was we made it red and we made the timer bounce in the last few seconds. So when you get here, the timer starts kind of bouncing in the last little bit. Okay, let's see. Okay, icon. Let's find the icon, and let's div it up. Whoops, and then let's bring this span out here, and then I want flex call, item center, justify center. I don't know whether that W12 is correct, but let's see. Okay, so something like this. But yours, this guy's like really big. So let's see if we can't now play around with some elements here. Let's make the text smaller, and then I guess all of that goes away. Let me take away these margins because they'll impact the visual nature of the centering. And then let's add a little bit more space between the timer. Maybe we can make the timer a bit smaller as well to accommodate. And let's create a gap of just 1. so that there's a bit more space. And then let's make this a bit larger. So this height, I want to double it kind of by default and then see what that feels like. That feels really big. How are you feeling about the bigness of this?
I think it's fine, especially because like the main thing on the screen is the question itself and how much time there is left.
Yeah, okay. So we've done that aspect, and then I guess your animation is a wobble, which we have here.
So I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but there is like a wobble once
Yeah.
and a wobble loop, which like the
Yeah.
wobble once is only like at the 50% mark.
Right.
And then the loop is basically the panic mode.
Okay. So I'll copy this CSS out flat into our main.css so that we have a wobble keyframe animation just in the overall app. And then, yeah, I think I can also copy wobble once and wobble loop. And all that is infinite and not. And there's a duration and everything applied here. And then for now, I'll begin with the wobble loop on this wobble loop. And then, yeah, maybe I can do I can try doing a wobble once here. Because these by default are infinite. So wobble once. And I don't need to do a set timeout here. But maybe I should anyway. And let's see what this feels like. So let's see if that applies. Yeah. How are we feeling about this? Okay, awesome. I like the wobble, for sure. And ultimately, what it's doing, it is 0 100%. It is where it is, and it's rotating by X number of degrees, and then scaling as well. So that's the detail of the wobble. I don't feel like. Let's just see how this goes. I mean, we could make the clock up. Let me know about the spacing and everything, but yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay. The other thing that I will do is go into here, and if seconds is equal to 0, I actually just want to return just 0. And let's just see what this feels like. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I thought this would be 0. What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And it's returning. Ah, yeah, of course. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Coding is what I'm doing wrong. You can't just put an if wherever you want, whenever you want. What an amateur move. Okay. How do you feel about the color changes versus the gradient?
I like the gradient, but
Okay.
I'm also like, we don't have to do it right now.
Well, we can see. I mean, while we're here, I can get the gradient in here, and then timer BG. And then I guess and then I'll just get rid of all of this, and we can see what it feels like. Although this is probably a bit different than what you may have imagined, because this shrinks versus so. I mean, we could do what the CodePen is doing, which is grow this. One of the things I don't love about that is they had to kind of resort to it being flat.
Yeah.
In order to do that, I mean, it's not the biggest of deals. It's just like I was like, would be nice if we didn't have to do that. But then I'm trying to think of if there's a way of accomplishing that without doing it, and it's not really coming to mind because but we could do it. We could just use the flatness to make it work. Oh, did you speed this up? Oh no. Okay.
I will in the background see if I can hack something on that.
Oh, you want to try this CSS-ness of it? Okay, yeah, sure.
Maybe. Like
yeah.
I had a friend who was telling me about like using masks.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. There's some potential masking business we could do, but then which element kind of owns, so you have to do a reverse mask of some sort. But yeah, if you want to play around with that, absolutely. Can I save changes? Oh, I have to sign up and stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna leave the colors as is for now, and then you can figure out a working version which aligns with my needs of the circle being maintained.
Sounds good, boss.
And if we don't, wow. And if I like the sound of that, but if we don't, then we can do the flat edge thing as well. No biggie.
See, this is the type of challenge that motivate me. I'm like,
So,
especially when you're like, if we don't, you know, I'm just like, we have to.
we have a pretty decent working version. You know, it's not the end of the world. Okay, restyle timer. Oops. But I think even then, for now, I'm happy with where we are. Like we've made a decent bit of progress overall. Um, and maybe for next time, which might be tomorrow, I'm happy to look into latex business and the whole deal with how we represent questions. My initial thoughts are to limit the scope, which is to say, hey, I'm not going to try and focus on sort of these image-based questions at first, and just look at word problems and numbers and focus there. And then once we have a pattern of templating that works for us and answers, and because the template will also have to generate the answers and we'll have to generate the questions, both randomized and make sense. Then we can, because all sorts of ideas I guess I'll quickly describe one of them, which is like, for example, this number we can randomize, but it seems like it needs to be stepped by 100. So like, it can't just be like 473, for example. So it can only be randomized to be like, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 range, right? Maybe 50s. But so so that definition needs to go into the process of the question. So you can't just say randomize in this range. It's randomized in this range with these steps, or here's an array of numbers and choose one of these, right? And then this number will be in relation to this number, right? Because if you pick 500, or if you pick 300 here, you can't have a number greater here. And then it can't be too low because Steph Curry needs to shoot over 90%, right? So you can't have Steph Curry shooting 60%. That's like, so these kinds of things are all kind of coming to the front as we figure out the templating. And same thing for these like patterns. Yeah, I think what I wouldn't mind doing next is kind of going through each one of these types of questions and seeing what parameters of questions we generate on a random basis. And then just go one by one and say, okay, is this good enough? Is this good enough? Is this good enough? And take it from there. Yeah.
Sounds
Any
good to me.
any other questions or comments or concerns?
Nope.
No? Alrighty, folks, thank you for joining us on this Sunday episode of Product Like It's Friday, even though it's Sunday. And at a random time next, maybe tomorrow, if we want to keep the streak alive, I will try and come back with just working on the questions and thinking about what it takes, researching a bit on latex JavaScript-based libraries to see what we can do in the visualization. Limit the scope to just words and not images, although I might do a bit of research on how these images are being displayed, but I'll time box myself because that can potentially be a rabbit hole. And otherwise, we'll see you at a random time in the future. Let's go home. All right.